Yo, we got a show for you today on the Legacy Podcast with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan. We're talking to Jonathan Waddell about the importance of adapting or dying. Stay tuned right here on your favorite Legacy Podcast. Welcome back to the show that inspires you most. I'm your host for Legacy, Kinsley Jordan, your winning coach, encouraging you to crush your goals, ignite your dreams, and forge your legacy right here on the Legacy Podcast. And boy, what a show do we have for you. I couldn't be more excited right now. I have my brother from another mother, Jonathan Waddell. It's just coffee time all over again as we're going to be talking through what is literally happening right now with this whole COVID-19 madness. And I got to be honest, John, there's a lot of people who are looking at this whole situation saying, oh my gosh, this is absolutely terrible. And don't get me wrong, disclaimer, here's the disclaimer. I'm not saying people getting sick and walking through a virus is a good thing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there is great opportunity in the midst of this madness that we've got to see it for what it is. So first off, I got Jonathan Waddell with me. He's a city commissioner for the city of Enid, Oklahoma. And not only that, retired military brother, just like myself. Not shaking hands because we don't do that right now.
Yeah, that's right. Elbow. Yes.
It's good. But hey, John, tell me a little bit about yourself. We've been friends for a while now. One of my really good friends that we have great discussions, whether it's politically, totally disagreeing on it, or whether it's economically or just friendship or faith or whatever it is. But you know, you see an interesting perspective of what's happening right now with this whole virus situation from the city, from somebody involved in church to socially, you know, what's happening on base, all those sorts of things. What are you seeing right now?
Oh man, it's really interesting because you look at a complete change in culture, even if temporary. You know, people's habits that they go day in and day out have changed, and it's been drastic. You know, parents are having to stay home with their kids. Their kids are all over the house. You know, used to being able to go to restaurants and movie theaters. All that stuff is all changed now, and so the thought process of how you go about your week and what you do is completely different. You know, even our city council meetings, we've had to draw them down and to make it into something that it didn't used to be, and so. Life has changed, and so we have to figure out how we're going to go forward in the best way to do that without changing who we are as a people, as Americans.
But one of the things. So this podcast specifically, the title right now, Adapt or Die, and I know that sounds probably poor timing for that statement, but the reality is that so many times we see organizations, we see businesses that get so stuck in their bureaucratic ways that they refuse to adapt with time. And one of the things we're seeing right now, socially, economically, is that people don't have a choice. Literally, you have to adapt your thinking, you have to adapt your mindset, you have to adapt to the situation. We're having to change what we're doing now. And frankly, you know, a lot of people have mentioned recently that, oh man, this is just absolutely terrible, this is happening. I see it as the greatest opportunity we have ever had.
Well, you also have to look at, when I started thinking about this subject, I started thinking about, iconic adapters, things that have really driven, the idea of what it really looks like to adapt. And so the first thing that came to mind was the chameleon. You think about a chameleon and what it has to do in order to be able to survive in the environment that it's in. It can be in a very hostile environment with predators all around. It's very, very dangerous. And so what a chameleon does inside that environment is it changes its skin in order to be able to adapt to its surroundings. Now, its chemical makeup of what it is as a chameleon doesn't change. But it changes its skin in order to be able to adapt to its environment. So really, it comes to as us as a culture decide: are we really willing to change some of the superficial things about us in order to be able to survive overall as a culture?
That's good.
And so we have to make that conscious decision.
And I think a lot of people have looked at it and they think it's going to change the core of who we are, just because the superficial service has changed and things look a little bit different. But when you look at who we are as people, we're literally allowing circumstances to determine the situation of who we are and what we're going to do, which is totally backwards. I mean, again, I look at this as the greatest opportunity, not only personally, but you have the opportunity now. And I know there's some people probably listening to this who are saying, you're nuts. Kinsley, I hate you. You're not a winning coach. You're the worst coach ever because I just lost my job. How can you tell me this is good for me? But this is why I'm telling you that I think this is great for us. I'm not saying circumstances are good. What I'm saying is if you're one of the people who you lost your job, you're impacted by the economy. What I'm saying is this is a chance to reinvent yourself.
Sure.
Although it wasn't on your terms that you wanted to lose your job, nobody wants to lose their job. I've lost a job before. I was told, hey, you're not cutting it. I mean, it hurts to get fired. It hurts to have to be let go.
That's true.
But in that moment, you're afforded the opportunity to reinvent yourself. It's a chance for personal growth. It's a chance for professional growth. It's a chance for industrial growth as a nation. It's a chance for innovative growth.
Yeah.
And I love innovation. I'm an innovation guy. That's literally my job.
I would go as far to say, and I would ask people, are you your job? And I would bet most of you would say that you're not your job.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you have skills and you have talents and you have thoughts and you're intelligent, you have wisdom that go and make you good at your job, but you are not the culmination of your job. So if your job changes, it doesn't take away your talents, it doesn't take away your wisdom, it doesn't take away your experience. All of those things are valuable assets that you can use in order to be able to move on to the next best thing that's available to you. So it really is about capitalizing on opportunity.
Yeah, if I had my white hanky, I'd be waving it right now. Brother, it's preaching. It's good. And that's so true. You know, I have a lot of friends, honestly, who look at the job, their occupation, and that defines them.
Yeah.
It defines who they are.
Yeah.
And actually, okay, I'll just go ahead and say it. So I'm a pilot. I'm a pilot, and a lot of my pilot friends say, well, you know, when I get done with my current job, I'm clearly going to go to the airlines. There's nothing else for me to do.
Yeah, but why?
And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's heartbreaking because they look at the culmination of their education, they look at the culmination of their experience, they look at the culmination of all of the tools and toolkits and people they've experienced, and all they see is their ability to fly a plane, and they think that is who they are, and that's what they're able to do.
Yep.
That's why I'm probably not going to be an airline guy, is because it's something I have done, but it's not who I am.
Exactly.
And it's not about who I'm going to be.
And it's also, you know, a lot of those situations, it's because it's the easy and most obvious thing that's right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take a step back and you look again at the culmination of all of your gifts and your talents, you have a broad array of things that you could choose to do as opposed to just flying a plane. Not that flying a plane is bad. It's a very important thing to do.
Yeah.
But you're more than just a pilot.
Yeah.
You're more than just a cook. You're more than just, you know, a mail carrier, whatever it may be. You're more than just that. You have all of these giftings and talents. And if you take a step back and you use some creative thinking about how to use those skills in an innovative way, this can be an opportunity more so than it is, you know, catastrophe.
A huge opportunity. You know, so one of my other jobs is I'm the chief of innovation for an organization. And my whole entire job is literally to be able to figure out how do we bring a simple solution to this everyday problem? Yeah. How do we break through the barriers? How do we break through the bureaucracy? How do we break through the schmeg, the junk that has been built up over just slow-moving processes and essentially people who don't really want to change?
Yeah.
And I look at this chance we have now. I mean, just look at the market.
Yeah.
People look at it and say, oh my gosh, the market has tanked. This is absolutely terrible. That's true. It has tanked. And there's a lot of people who have lost a lot of money if they chose to pull their money out of the market right now. Yeah. If they chose to. However, there's also the flip side to it of this is a great opportunity to be able to jump into the market and get purchasing a larger quantity for less money. Yeah. And it's going to go back up. We're going to recover.
It is.
We're going to recover. This is going to be great. But overall, it is about the opportunity that exists. True. And really, you know, in talking about adapt or die, we're left with this choice of are we going to stay the way we are? And, you know, you've heard me mention this several times before. If you're not growing, you're dying.
You're dying. That's true.
You're either growing or you're dying.
It's true.
There's no in between.
Yeah. If you look at a guy like Jeff Bezos and you look at Amazon, if people remember, Amazon was a book business.
Yeah.
That's what they did. It was books.
And people call them nuts. It's
exactly.
Like,
it was completely nuts.
What are you talking about?
And so you look at an individual like that and an organization like that saw a gap and an opportunity in order to be able to take advantage of a gap in the marketplace. And you look, it's turned into one of the biggest businesses, not just in a state or America, but in the entire world, all because they looked at an opportunity and took advantage of what was there.
Yeah. And when you mention that, going back to what we previously said, this is what I love about us, man. It's just this fireside chat, fire back and forth. When you look at that, they didn't look at books as who they were because the potential was there to say, we're a book company. We're an online book company.
Yep.
But that was never, if you listen to interviews, if you watch the interviews with the company, they never said that.
Exactly.
They weren't about, it's you know, going back to what we talked about Simon Sinek several times before, the why. Why do we do what we do?
Yeah.
getting to the why. If it's a book you haven't read, you need to. It's by Simon Sinek. Start with the why, and it really forces you to ask yourself, why are we doing what we're doing? Amazon said it's our job, our ability to get things to people.
Yeah.
It started off with books, and they could have stopped there and said, hey, this is great, man. Industry has exploded. We're doing a great job. We're just going to stop right here. But they didn't.
Nope.
Because books didn't define who they were. Yeah. It was something they did, but it's not who they were.
100%. 100%.
They adapted.
Yeah.
How many bookstores, if you're a bookstore owner, I love you.
Yeah.
But the fact that if you're a bookstore owner, you've probably had to adapt and start doing stuff online because you're forced to. But how many bookstores have closed?
Oh, man.
Since Amazon.
Yep.
How many stores overall, just general retail? Because you used to work in retail as well.
Definitely.
Just general retail.
Sure.
And it's completely changed.
Yep. But and you've said this, but it's in that time when the stress on that marketplace began to struggle and the book business began to struggle, if they would have defined themselves purely as a book business, they would be closed today.
Yeah.
But because now the books that they do and the books that they sell is a caveat to this much bigger enterprise that they embark upon every single day.
Yeah.
They have their own planes, they have their own trucks, they have all of these other things that complement the wider reach of their business overall.
Yeah.
This is what we are. We're a culmination of our gifts, our talents, and our ability to see opportunities.
Yes. Yes. And that's why this opportunity right now, you've heard it so many times before, COVID-19, the virus, everything that's taking place. If you've not stopped to take a moment and breathe and realize this is the greatest opportunity for you that you may have ever had in your entire life. And again, the disclaimer up front, it's not good that anybody's getting sick. I'm saying you've got to make a determination. Are you going to adapt to the scenario? Are you going to adapt to the circumstances? Are you going to adapt to the opportunities that are presented before you right now? Or are you going to weather away and become a casualty of the circumstances?
Exactly.
You've got to make that choice. And this is where I want you to focus. Eye contact. Boom. Right here. You and me. I want you to ask yourself this question. Exactly what Jonathan just said a moment ago. What you do, is it defining who you are? Have you allowed yourself to start thinking and believing, well, I am what I do?
Yeah.
Because that's not true at all. It's not true. You aren't what you do. It's something that's a capability for you. And I think there's a lot of us right now. That's why there's so many people who are impacted so hard by this, because businesses are closing down because of the virus. People are being laid off or they're not currently being paid. But there's a lot of opportunity to be able to adapt what we're doing and see another opportunity and go in that direction.
Yeah.
It's huge. So when we come back right here at the Legacy Podcast, we're helping you to not only crush your goals, ignite your dreams, but forge your legacy right here, with the winning coach and my brother from Mother, Jonathan Waddell, right here. We're going to meet you right back here in just a second, and we're going to actually tackle the 4-step process for you to be able to see this as an opportunity and capitalize on it right here on Legacy. Hey, thanks for watching the Legacy Podcast right here with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan. Hit that subscribe button right now and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any great content as it's made available to you. Also, make sure you follow me right here, your winning coach, at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. All of those are at Kinsley Jordan. And you can even visit me and schedule me for your own event to not only be your personal coach, or also schedule for a motivational speech wherever you want. Just visit us at www.kinsleyjordan.com, and I'm right there with you. Now, let's get back to the Legacy Podcast. Hey, thanks once again for joining us on the Legacy Podcast with your winning coach, Kinsley Jordan, and my brother from another mother, Jonathan Waddell, where we're talking about the current situation with COVID-19. And that, you know what, in these times where it's a lot of chaos, it's time to adapt or die. You're either growing or you're dying. And it's something we've got to be able to rein ourselves around. But what would Legacy Podcast be without a little instruction of how to actually do that?
Yeah.
So how do we seize these opportunities?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people out there saying, okay, Kinsley, that's great. I'm glad you think this is an opportunity, but I have no idea how to actually dive into it. I have no idea how to seize this opportunity.
Yeah.
I have no clue how to do that. So first and foremost, 4 easy steps if you want to lead us into it, with the first one being recognizing the situation for what it is.
Yeah. Recognizing the situation is looking at, if you want to see the negative in the situation, you're going to see it.
And there's a lot of people who do that.
There's a lot, but you can get lost in that.
Yeah.
And that's an easy way in order to be able to miss opportunities. But once you take a step back, you take a deep breath and you say, okay, there's a need now.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about innovation, the thing about creativity is that it's always spawned from a need. There's a need there that needs to be filled. And
necessity breeds innovation.
Exactly. Necessity.
Absolutely.
And so we know, and you can look all around your communities right now and all around the nation, you can see there's an abundance of needs.
Yeah.
And so, taking a step back and again analyzing and saying, okay, how my gifts and my talents could correspond with filling some of those needs. That's how you begin to identify how you can capitalize on an opportunity and how you can recognize the situation for what it is and how you can fit into that situation.
Yeah. Because you're always going to be faced with it. It doesn't matter whether it's right now. It doesn't matter whether it's 10 years down the road. It may not be on a national scale. It may literally be on a personal scale. Winners are able to look at a situation, a circumstance that may seem completely catastrophic, dire, terrible, that nothing good could come from it. As a believer, because Jesus is my Lord and Savior. As a believer, I look at everything and say it's an opportunity to be able to help or pour into somebody. Something good is going to come from this.
Yeah.
If that's not you, if you say, hey man, faith isn't my thing, that's totally fine. But it's still critically important for you to be able to look at a situation and see an opportunity and see something good in that situation.
Yeah.
If not, man, the world's going to be negative always. You're never going to see anything good in it.
If you go back to the 1940s and you look at the war effort, when all of the men were being drafted and sent off to war, there was an opportunity for the American war effort to collapse because there was nobody to work in the factories at that time.
Yeah.
But it was seen as an opportunity to take the women that were still back, the mothers and the sisters that were all back there, to step into a level of opportunity that wasn't there previously.
Yeah.
And so they stepped into that opportunity and they thrived with it.
Yeah.
They took it and they drove industry in a way that industry had not been seen before.
Yeah.
And we still see those iconic figures of Rosie the Riveter from that time frame in this day. And again, back in that time, you had an opportunity to look at it and be woe is me type situation. But instead, as an American population, as a people, we looked at it as an opportunity and then chased after it and capitalized on the fact that we did have millions of capable women who were able to go into those factories and help the war effort in a way that they hadn't been able to do before in the past.
Yeah, completely. And look what it did just for the social impact of women in the workplace. There was new visions and new ideas and new opportunities where women were like, man, I didn't realize I enjoyed doing this, but I actually like doing it. Sure. I like going out and having a job and maybe not just staying at home. And Brooke, my wife, she loves just taking care of her family and having her job that she works at the church and going back to school. But previously, those opportunities weren't there, and that's why I say opportunity, necessity is the foundation, the cornerstone of innovation. Yeah. So you got to look at it and recognize the situation for what it is. I'm not saying there's not bad parts to it. I'm not saying there's not negative parts to it. Sure. But there's always got to be a positive side.
Exactly.
There's always got to be a flip side. There's always got to be an opportunity. Right. Which really leads us, so step number one, in case you missed it, step number one in order to walk through these challenging situations and find the opportunity is, one, recognize the situation for what it is. Yeah. Is it a tragedy or is it opportunity? And we would suggest to you today, it's an opportunity. There's always an opportunity.
Definitely opportunity.
Step number two, assess the opportunity. So what does that mean?
Oh man. So again, it's looking at the environment that you're in and seeing that there are gaps. We're accustomed to a certain way of doing things, and we've been doing it for a very long time. But all of that has come to a screeching halt. Food, how we eat, whether we go to restaurants, whether we go to the grocery store, all of those things, we are accustomed to doing it for the same way for a very long time. Yeah. But we have to stop doing it that way, at least for a period. So now we still have those needs, but the question becomes, how do we meet those needs? Yeah. So that in and of itself, you've now created an opportunity for innovation to take place and for you in order to be able to fill that gap.
Yeah. One of the things I always struggle with is, I think prior to this whole COVID-19 thing, everybody was so busy with everything. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that we used to do. And I know we've talked about this before of prioritizing what you're doing as a family. Is it important to us? Is it a priority? And why are we even doing this thing?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this thing? I think, again, this has been a great opportunity from a personal level, a personal growth level for all of us to be able to take a step back and say, you know, I've enjoyed slowing down. I've enjoyed spending more time with my kids.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed just not running the rat race of what it is. And that's why it's really important when we talk about assessing the opportunity is that I think it's a good chance for you to ask yourself, why am I doing what I do?
Yeah.
Why am I spending time doing all of these other events or all of these other things for everyone else, but I'm actually missing a huge opportunity to spend time with my family?
True.
And when you assess an opportunity and when you look at it and say, is this something that I want to dive into? Is this something that I want to invest into? You have to be able to answer the question, why?
Yeah, that's true. 100%.
If you can answer why you're doing something, what in the world are you doing it for?
Definitely, yeah.
Why are you spending because whether you believe it or not, this is what, for me, changed my whole perspective of what I do as I assess opportunities, is somebody one time asked me, what's your time worth?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? He said, put a dollar amount on what your time is worth. I never even thought about it. I said, well, certainly your time is worth something. If you were going to charge somebody for your expertise, for your training, for your education, for your experiences, what dollar amount would you put on it based on all of those variables put together? And I realized that I'm worth more than I thought I was worth. My time is actually very important to me. So when you're looking at whether or not you're going to dive into an opportunity, it's really important to ask yourselves, what is the payout?
Yeah.
And is the payout important to you? You know, we do a lot of volunteer work. We do a ton for our church, for our community, of pouring into people. And when you really ask yourself that question, is there going to be any tangible benefit to me? No, probably not. But is it important to me to pour into other people? Absolutely.
Definitely.
It is worth every dollar that I'll never get back.
Yep.
It is worth every moment. And the reality is, and this is a whole different podcast, but there is a return on the investment.
Definitely.
And pouring into people.
I can tell you for me, when I ran for city council, one of the important things for me is that if I'm going to be in this community, it's important for me to invest in it because my kids are going to be here. My wife is here, potentially my grandkids. And so there may not be a dollar translation, but there is an investment and a return on that investment by spending time and effort to invest in the community. So that's...
Assess your opportunity. Assess if it's worth your investment to be able to go into it. Step number 3.
Yeah.
When you decide that an opportunity is worth it,
you go all in.
Go all in,
You got to go all in.
Go all in.
Yeah.
Don't straddle the fence.
You can't. You can't halfway.
Doing?
Yep.
You can't do that.
Definitely.
Why? Well, this is obvious to us because we're goers, we're doers, we're shakers. But for some of our listeners out there, some of our viewers, they probably look at this and be like, "That's terrifying."
Yeah. Oh, and it can be.
Why would I go all in?
Yeah. It can be, but the reality situation is that if you look at any type of the stock market, if you look at anytime you invest, there is no reward without some risk involved there. But if you halfway do it, you're only going to get a halfway return. If you only put a toe in, you're only going to get a toe's worth of water back for what you put in the water. So the reality is, if you want a big return, then you're going to have to cut off your inhibitions and not to go in unwisely and not to go without seeking wisdom and counsel from people that you respect. You do all of those things. But once you get that yes and you get that confirmation and you feel it in your knower, you go for it.
Yeah.
You don't hold back. You do it because it's worth it.
Yeah. It is worth it. Yeah. You have to. And one of the things I've seen several times in my life, frankly, I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I thought about doing this podcast for a year. I talked about it, talked to people about it. Hey, I really want to do it. And they're like, oh yeah, you should totally do it. And then just the fear of putting yourself and your heart and emotion and the thoughts out there and having people judge you for whatever reason, it was intimidating to me. I was like, I mean, how much? Ask me how much got done when I was halfway thinking about it.
Oh, nothing.
Nothing. You were supposed to ask me.
I'm asking you. I saw it. I knew it was nothing.
There was literally nothing. Nothing got done. Not even a drop. There was nothing. It was nothing but a thought rolling around in my head. And you know how much, how much return on investment there was to that thought? Nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't see a dime for it at all.
Yeah.
Because it just sat there. I wasn't 100% committed to it. I wasn't 100% in. It was just a thought. That's why it's so critically important. And one of the byproducts of that is, I'll answer this in the form of a question. Yeah. How often have you got people on board with you when you didn't believe in it yourself?
Wow. Yeah. Not very often.
Ding, 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 ding. If you're trying to take other people with you in this opportunity, because I mean, how often do we do things by ourselves? Not normally ever. Where there's always a team, there's an organization, there's a business, there's somebody who's partnering with us in this venture. If you're not all in, you know what that says to me?
Yeah.
You're unstable.
Yeah. If you don't believe it, why should I? If you don't believe it, why should I believe
I'm not about to put skin in the game of a guy who's not about to put his own skin in the game. Come on.
Like and what makes it worse is this. What if you did? What if those people signed on to something that you didn't really believe in? People that you loved and you care about and you respected. And you were only halfway in. At that point in time, they're more vested in your beliefs than you really are. And if it all goes belly up at that point, you come out smelling better than they do. And what kind of friend are you?
Yeah, you're literally leading them to slaughter. Because you're not willing to make sure that the thing succeeds.
Exactly.
That's failure.
Yeah.
That's total failure.
You're betting on it.
If you're not growing, 100%. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in it, don't do it. Don't waste your time with it. Don't waste your energy with it.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this is a great opportunity for us as Americans, as people. If you're not an American, French, Canadian, whatever you are, Mexican, it doesn't matter. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening to, this is a great opportunity for you to reassess where you're at and decide, what am I going to go all in on?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we've done step number one. We've recognized this situation. We saw, you know what? It's not a tragedy. It's an opportunity. We're all in. We're going to innovate. We're going to create. We're going to dive in. We've done step number two. We've assessed the opportunity. We saw it for what it is. Hey, I think we're going to do this. We've done step number three. I'm all in, 100%. Full bore. I'm in. We're doing this. We're partnered up. I'm casting the vision, building my team. Step number four.
Yeah.
I said step number three last time. Step number four this time. Adapt or die. Why?
Yeah. Because we know things are always going to go right. Things aren't always going to go the way that you plan. And so knowing that no matter what the circumstance, you have to be willing to transform and to be able to move and shake with what the environment is putting towards you. Because if you don't, just like the chameleon, if you don't change colors in the environment which you're in, you will be eaten by a predator.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the situation. You have to adapt or you're going to die.
Completely. You have to.
It's true.
In the innovation realm, we call it a pivot.
Yeah.
We don't call it a turn. If you think about it, a turn is kind of a slow, gradual thing. You get the car, you turn the wheel, and slowly the car turns in that direction, whatever it is. But a pivot is an instantaneous change in direction.
Yeah.
You draw the line, you're headed this direction, boop, we stop, we're changing in another direction completely and entirely. A pivot is critically important. It's critically important to the success of adapting to whatever the situation is. I got a great example for you. So I'm part of an organization called AFWorks. AFWorks is the Air Force Innovation. In case you don't know, I'm in the Air Force. Air Force Innovation. And there was supposed to be this thing called the Southwest, the Spark Collider, where a bunch of people were going to go down to Austin. We were going to meet there. There was going to be industry who was sharing ideas, opportunities. There was going to be pitches of companies who were partnering and potentially getting a contract from the government. And then COVID-19 hit.
Yeah.
And you know how many people showed up? None. Why? Because it got canceled. Because Austin went into a state of emergency.
Yeah.
This happened on a Friday.
Yeah.
Everybody was supposed to show up Wednesday.
Tragedy
of that next tragedy strip. It was tragedy strip. And one of my friends, Tony Perez, awesome dude, and Adam Walsh, who were working at, they made this decision of saying, you know what? What if we try to do this thing virtually? There's too much momentum. We've already coordinated with the businesses. What if we try to do this thing virtually and get people together?
Yeah.
On Sunday, there was no plan of making this happen. Yeah. On Monday, the table slapped and said, all right, we're doing this thing. We're pivoting. It was 100%
going all in.
If this ship was going to sink, baby, we were on it. We were on the orchestra playing that last note down to the last wave that crushed over us.
Yeah.
Over the course of 48 hours, this event that had gone from a personal interactive event where you were going to physically be there went to an event that was streamed live over multiple different platforms, over 15 different virtual rooms, and a system we at first knew nothing about.
Wow.
Partnered with some amazing people at Capital Factory down in Austin to be able to make this happen. 15 different virtual rooms. It was hosting. Well, I'll actually put a link to it where you can actually see where we were hosting the event. We would cut over to different virtual rooms. You had the Secretary of the Air Force there.
Wow.
You had some amazing people, speakers, keynote speakers there, all on a platform of something that had never been done before.
Yeah.
A pivot.
Yeah.
there was a choice that was to be made.
Yeah.
You can adapt or you can die.
You could die.
And you know what turned out after that? It was one of the biggest successes. We were able to reach more people than we physically could have reached had everybody showed up.
Oh, man.
More people were reached, more opportunity was shown, and we started realizing, listen, man, we can actually do these events virtually and reach a lot more people and get a lot more engagement and interaction.
Yeah.
And what was birthed out of this is the idea of being able to do virtual, basically virtual colliders, and now you're able to tie people in from all the way across the ocean who couldn't have been there,
That's
or
phenomenal.
it would have cost them before.
That's phenomenal. Adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
Or die.
Adapt or die,
Yeah.
man. That's what it's all about right here. Seriously. It's been so much fun. Listen, we've kept enough of your time, but I can't even say that. Every ounce, every minute you spend with us is an investment. Into yourself.
That's good.
100%. You've been watching right here, Legacy Podcast, because this is what we do. We build a legacy in your life. We're encouraging you not only to crush your goals, ignite your dreams, but forge a legacy in your life right here with the winning coach, Kinsley Jordan, and my brother from another mother, Jonathan Waddell. Hey, we'll join you next week again for another great podcast. Stay tuned. We'll include it in the links below. And if you haven't yet, subscribe right down there. We'll see you next time. John, buddy, thanks for joining, buddy.
Love you, brother.
All right, see ya. Love you too. Hey, we'll see you guys next time on Legacy Podcast.